It's all covered in today's China Truths.
China's epidemic is severe, mutant virus. Mountain villages become no man's land. The epidemic in China is worsening, and the number of patients with severe pneumonia, white lung, and other diseases has sharply increased. People in many places have revealed that all local hospitals and clinics are now overcrowded, and people around them are constantly dying. There are reports that coffins are out of stock in Shijiazhuang, and prices have skyrocketed. Coffin and urn factories are ramping up production. To reduce pressure on crematoriums, Henan, Anhui, and Jiangxi have quietly allowed burials. Some residents of Jinzhai County, Luan, Anhui, have said that local mountain villages have almost become uninhabited areas. In mid-February, people in many places across mainland China told NTD reporters that a new wave of the epidemic broke out before the new year, and those around them were widely infected. Ms. Sun, a resident of Changji, Shaanxi. My little granddaughter suddenly had a fever before the new year. I was taking care of her. 2 days later, I felt unwell, with fever, cough, and stomach and lung infections. Anyway, many people are receiving infusions in the hospital now. You see, after my little granddaughter had a fever, the next day, my son felt unwell. My husband was unwell too. Ms. Sun, a resident of Changji, Shaanxi, revealed that many people now have flu symptoms, which eventually develop into severe illness and lead to death. Ms. Sun. Anyway, many people have died from the disease. Several people in my hometown, in their 40s and 50s, died suddenly. I heard from people around me, "Oh, so-and-so died." The one who impressed me the most was in his 60s. He didn't know he had the virus. He was fine but developed leukopenia. The old lady next door was in her 70s and died of leukopenia. Around the new year, mainland media also reported the deaths of many young and middle-aged actors and celebrities. Mr. Hua, a villager in Tangshan, Hebei. Now, the big hospitals are overcrowded, just like a marketplace. The people who died in the hospital can't be cremated immediately. I am now in my hometown in the countryside, and many people have died. You have to find someone to cremate the bodies, like the end of the world. The deceased include older people, middle-aged individuals, and even some young people. This group controls the media and doesn't allow people to talk about it. Many mainland parents also cried on social platforms that their children had recently died of influenza. Zhang Xiong, who works in the funeral industry in Jinzhai County, Luan, Anhui, disclosed that many people in the area were infected. The authorities said it was influenza, but they suspected a variant of the new coronavirus, CCP virus, had emerged. Zhang Xiong said, "This time the epidemic is serious. I won't talk about it or make it public. All hospitals are full. Large hospitals are overcrowded, and many patients are waiting for beds. There are many deaths now, and the crematorium business is thriving. We have 20 to 30 people dying here daily. We have built a large funeral home, and more than a dozen furnaces are burning every day." Zhang Xiong disclosed that many middle-aged and elderly people in the area have died, and the mountainous region has almost become a no-man's land. Zhang Xiong. Now, there are no people in the mountains, and some houses in the mountains are uninhabited. Since ancient times, people in the Dabi Mountains have buried their dead in their own mountains. Now, cremation is enforced, but the people oppose it. The government sends people to dig up the graves and burn the bodies in the crematorium. If the family members don't agree, they will be arrested. Mr. Li, a resident of Zhumadian, Henan, disclosed that due to the high number of deaths, burial has been allowed in some provinces with large populations and certain areas. Mr. Li said, "You don't know this, but in Henan Province, Anhui Province, and Jiangxi Province, burials have been quietly relaxed. Because there is a crematorium for burials, the pressure is reduced. Weren't the requirements in the countryside very strict before? Burials had to be dug up and cremated, but now that is no longer required. Mr. Li is currently working in Xiamen, Fujian. Around the new year, many people in his circle of contacts died. Mr. Li said, "Let me tell you, from the beginning of the year until now, especially in the north, many young people have died. I know dozens of relatives, friends, customers, and colleagues. There are even more outside my circle of contacts." Many people around Mr. Li also suffered from serious immune system-related illnesses. Mr. Li said, "As far as I know, in Xiamen, my colleague's father is less than 60 years old and has heart problems. There are also many young people with diabetes, high blood pressure, and kidney failure. Lupus erythematosus is considered a minor issue, and there are also many people with facial paralysis." He added that the authorities now claim this is the peak of influenza, but he believes it is actually the new coronavirus. Mr. Li said, "It's still the same thing, they just changed the name, but many people have the same symptoms. Now it's called influenza A, but the medicine used and the symptoms are the same. Generally, it's heart problems and white lung syndrome. Many people have died, mostly in their 40s and 50s, and some even in their 40s. One of my relatives is in the emergency hospital, and that night, his emergency department was packed with cardiology cases, especially heart, kidney, and cerebral infarction cases. In the past, catching a cold wasn't a big deal, but now you might not survive it." People in many places in Hebei revealed that hospitals and crematoriums have been overcrowded recently, coffins are out of stock, and prices have skyrocketed. Mr. Hua, a villager in Tangshan, Hebei. "The big hospitals are overcrowded, just like a market. The crematoriums can't process all the dead bodies. It's like the end of the world. Many young people have died, but the elderly and middle-aged make up the majority. My aunt passed away on Saturday from the flu virus, but the media is controlled and won't allow discussion about it." Mr. Wang, a villager in the suburbs of Shijiazhuang, Hebei, also revealed that the local hospital was full, beds were in short supply, and many people couldn't secure coffins after they died. Mr. Wang from Shijiazhuang, Hebei. "There are many deaths, and most of them are elderly people. Usually, a coffin that costs 4,000 yuan is now sold for 12,000 yuan. It's 12,000 yuan in the morning, and by the afternoon, it may go up to 13,000 yuan, because there are more deaths. Now, coffins are unavailable, so they are being sold at high prices." Xiao Chen, a worker at a coffin factory in Zhejiang, revealed that many new factories producing coffins and urns have been built locally, selling products nationwide and operating over time. Xiao Chen said, "We are very busy making coffins. We have to work overtime and hire more people. The 7 or 8 factories here were established only in the past 2 years. Many middle-aged and young people have died. My classmate's brother was about 48 years old and died in the factory dormitory." Henan man's lungs collapsed after doing 20 push-ups. A 35-year-old man in Zhengzhou, Henan, did 20 push-ups in one go to lose weight. The next morning, he woke up with chest pain and difficulty breathing. Mr. New initially thought it was muscle strain, but as the pain worsened, he went to the hospital and was diagnosed with spontaneous pneumothorax, a lung collapse caused by a small tear. His right lung had shrunk to 1/3 of its normal size. Doctors explained that intense exercise can increase chest pressure, potentially damaging lung tissue. If left untreated, the condition could lead to infection and even sudden death. On February 17th, man's lungs collapsed after doing 20 push-ups, trended online, sparking heated discussions. Some netizens shared similar experiences, while others remarked on modern-day fragility. Some speculate that his condition is linked to the flu epidemic raging in China. Some netizens also commented, "People are so fragile these days. It's better to just lie down."
the comments section below. We will keep reporting on the COVID surge in China, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get the latest videos. And thank you for tuning in.